Let us discuss about the nervous system. The living body possesses a remarkable communication system to coordinate its biological functions. This is achieved by two distinctly organized functional systems. They are nervous system and endocrine system. These two systems together called as integrative system. So the nervous system coordinates the body functions through the transmission of electrochemical impulses. They are called nerve impulses. The nervous system not only coordinates the internal functions of the body organs, but it also coordinates the external stimuli. So the study of this nervous system is called neurology. The main structural and functional units of this nervous system, they are called neurons. If you observe the structure of these neurons, so the neuron contains cyton, axon, dendrites and teledendrites. So the neurons, so these neurons are the longest cells in the animal kingdom. The neurons doesn't have cell division. The number of neurons are fixed. They doesn't have cell division. So these are the structures present in the neurons: cyton, axon, dendrites and teledendrites. If you observe the structure of this neuron, so the neuron contains a cell body. So this cell body is called as a cyton, or it is also called as soma. The cell body contains the nucleus. So this is a nucleus. In this nucleus, the stimulus or the nerve impulse will be processed. So inside the cytoplasm of the cyton, small granules are present. So these granules are called Nissl granules. They are called Nissl granules. These are called Nissl granules because these were discovered by F. Nissl. And these Nissl granules are meant for protein synthesis. It is a site of protein synthesis. And a long process which arises from the cyton. So this is called as an axon. So this axon, it is covered by a sheath-like structure. This sheath is called myelin sheath. The protective sheath covering this axon is called myelin sheath. Here and there, the myelin sheath is absent, thereby it forms a constriction. This constriction is called nodes of Ranvier. So these nodes of Ranvier are useful for fast moving of nerve impulse. And the long processes, the branch process which arises from the cyton, they are called dendrites. So these are the dendrites. And nerve ending or at the tip of the axon, small branch structures are present. So these are called terminal boutons, or they are called as teledendrites. So this is the structure of a neuron or a nerve cell. At the tip of this nerve cell, at the tip of the neuron, some chemicals are released. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters. So these neurotransmitters are useful for better conduction of nerve impulse. Some examples of these neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, serotonin, dopamine, histamine and GABA. GABA means gamma aminobutyric acid. Gamma aminobutyric acid. So these neurotransmitters are useful for better transmission of nerve impulse. So these neurotransmitters, they may be excitatory or they may be inhibitory in function. Here, for the transmission of nerve impulse, for the transmission of stimulus, the sodium ions, that is Na plus ions, and potassium ions, K plus ions, plays an important role. So the sodium potassium pump, it is a complex of proteins which are responsible for the transmission of nerve impulse. So that means, so this is a membrane, axon membrane. On this membrane, a charge is, a potential gradient is created. This potential gradients allows the nerve impulse to move forward. Here actually, so inside the neurons, inside the nerve impulse, sodium ions are more, and outside the nerve, so potassium ions are more. For every exit of 3 sodium ions, there is an input of 2 potassium ions. Thereby it creates a potential gradient. So thereby, so the resting potential, which is minus 70 millivolts, it will be transformed to a positive potential difference, that is plus 40 millivolts. This is called as the action potential. This action potential allows the nerve impulse to move forward. So this is called action potential. Let us discuss about the types of nervous system. Types of nervous system. The nervous system is mainly divided into 3 categories. They are central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomous nervous system. The central nervous system contains brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, it contains cranial nerves, and spinal nerves, whereas the autonomous nervous system contains sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So the nervous system is divided into mainly 3 parts. So that is central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomous nervous system. The central nervous system contains brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system contains the nerves which originate from the brain and spinal cord. They are cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So peripheral autonomous nervous system, it contains sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. That means the nerves which originate from both spinal cord and brain, they forms part of the autonomous nervous system. Let us discuss about the central nervous system, that is brain. So this brain, it is the most complicated and well developed part of the body. The study of brain is called phrenology. The approximate weight of human brain is 1350 grams. In human beings, the brain is protected in a group of bones called cranium. The brain is protected in a cranium. This cranium is also called brain box. So this brain is a well developed organ of the body. It is protected in a group of bones called cranium, and this cranium is also called as brain box. The brain is protected by some protective layers. So these protective layers are called meninges. So there are three types of meninges. They are outer dura mater, inner pia mater, and middle arachnoid. So the brain is surrounded by the protective layers. The outer layer is called as dura mater, inner layer is called pia mater, and the middle layer is called arachnoid membrane. In between these meninges, in between these membranes, there is a fluid substance. So the fluid substance present between these meninges is called cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. So this cerebrospinal fluid acts as a shock absorber. It protects the brain from shocks and injuries. If you observe the structure of a brain, the brain is divided into mainly three parts. The brain is divided into mainly three parts. So they are forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So forebrain, it is the front part of the brain. It is the anterior part of the brain. The forebrain is again divided into cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Midbrain. The midbrain contains, the middle part of the brain is called midbrain. It contains corpora quadrigemina, and the hindbrain, it contains cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. So the brain is divided into mainly three regions. So that the anterior region is called forebrain, and the middle region is called midbrain, and the posterior region is called hindbrain. The forebrain is divided into three parts. They are cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. The midbrain contains corpora quadrigemina, and the hindbrain contains again three parts. They are cerebrum, pons, and medulla oblongata. So let us see the structure of this brain. So this is a structure of a brain. So the anterior part of the brain, so that is called cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. So this part, this is called a cerebrum, and the cerebrum or the brain is surrounded by meninges. Okay, so these meninges may be dura mater, pia mater, and arachnoid membrane, and this is the cerebrum part. Actually, a small septum divides the cerebrum into two equal halves. So these are called cerebral cortex. They are called cerebral cortex. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. So its weight is approximately 995 grams. So the total weight of brain is approximately 1350 grams. In this 1350 grams, the cerebrum occupies, its weight is approximately 995 grams. The cerebrum, it contains some elevations and depressions. The elevations, so the elevations are called gyri, and the depressions The depressions are called sulci. Actually, on evolutionary basis, the presence of this gyri and sulci indicates that the human brain is well developed when compared with the other mammals, other animals. So this gyri and sulci increases the surface area of the brain, thereby more number of neurons can be accommodated in the brain. So the cerebrum, it is the main center. Actually, the cerebrum, it is the main center of the brain. It controls various voluntary actions, like it contains the centers for memory, intelligence, learning, thinking, behavior and speech. So that means the cerebrum controls the most of the voluntary actions like memory, intelligence, learning, thinking, behavior and speech. Let us see the thalamus pod. The thalamus pod. So this is the thalamus region. The thalamus, the outer part, that means upper part of the thalamus, it is called as epithalamus, and the lower part it is called as an hypothalamus. This is hypothalamus. The thalamus, it is the center for pain, cold and heat. And hypothalamus, this hypothalamus regulates the secretions of the endocrine glands. The hypothalamus releases some releasing factors. So these releasing factors initiates the anterior lobe of the pituitary, thereby the anterior lobe of the pituitary can release some trophic hormones. So the hypothalamus, it is also called as thermoregulating center of the body. This hypothalamus mainly controls the secretions of the endocrine glands. And next, corpora quadrigemina. So this is a midbrain. Okay, midbrain. The midbrain, this corpora quadrigemina, it controls the vision and hearing. The midbrain, or it is also called as corpora quadrigemina, this controls it controls and coordinates the vision and hearing. And let us see the hindbrain. Hindbrain, it is the posterior part of the brain. Hindbrain, it is the posterior part of the brain. So it contains cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. So the cerebellum. Cerebellum is a very sensitive part of the brain. Cerebellum is a very sensitive part of the brain. So actually the cerebellum controls it is also called as a small brain. It controls and coordinates the muscular movements, that is musculoskeletal movement. It controls the locomotion. Next, pons. It acts as a bridge. Pons. It acts as a bridge between the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Pons acts as a bridge between the brain and the spinal cord. So this medulla oblongata, it is the posterior part of the hindbrain. This medulla oblongata, it is very sensitive part of the So here cerebellum, the cerebellum, it is also called a small brain. It controls the musculoskeletal movement. It is not the sensitive part of the brain and it is considered a small brain. And medulla oblongata, it is very sensitive part of the brain. It controls most of the involuntary actions like heartbeat, respiration and secretions of the internal digestive juices. So all these are under the control of this medulla oblongata. Let us see the spinal cord. Spinal cord. The spinal cord, it is also covered by meninges, that is outer dura mater, inner pia mater, and middle arachnoid membrane. Here also the cerebrospinal fluid is present. So actually the spinal cord contains a dorsal surface and a ventral surface. Actually the dorsal root of the spinal cord is sensory in function, and whereas the ventral part, it is motor in function. Here in brain, actually the grey matter and white matter is present. The grey matter is present outside the brain and the white matter is present inside the brain. Whereas in spinal cord, the white matter is present outside and the grey matter is present inside. The grey matter appears in the form of a H-shaped structure, or it appears in the form of a butterfly shaped structure. The spinal cord controls most of the reflex actions. Spinal cord controls reflex actions. So reflex action means the spontaneous quick reactions, they are called reflex actions. And let us see the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system contains two types of nerves. They are cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Cranial nerves and spinal nerves. The nerves which originate from the brain, are called cranial nerves. There are totally 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So spinal nerves, there are 31 pairs. So these cranial nerves, they may be sensory or they may be motor and they may be mixed nerves. So let us see the list of the cranial nerves. And the list of the cranial nerve and its nature. The cranial nerve, the first cranial nerve, it is olfactory nerve. Olfactory nerve, it is sensory in function. And the second cranial nerve, optic nerve, it is also sensory in function. Oculomotor, it is motor in function. Trochlear, it is also motor in function. Trigeminal nerve, it is mixed in function. Abducens nerve, it is motor in function. Facial nerve, it is mixed in function. Auditory nerve, it is sensory. Glossopharyngeal, it is mixed nerve. Glossopharyngeal, mixed nerve. Vagus nerve, mixed nerve. Spinal accessory, it is motor. And next, hypoglossal, it is motor nerve. So these are the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The cranial nerves originate from the brain. Okay, olfactory nerve, it is sensory. So olfactory nerve, it is sensory. Optic nerve, it is also sensory. Optic nerve, it is also sensory. And obducens nerve, auditory nerve, it is also sensory. So these nerves may be sensory, motor and mixed. Sensory nerves, they receive the stimulus from the sense organs, and motor nerves, they carries the instructions or messages from the brain or spinal cord to the effector organs or target organs. So mixed nerves, so they are both sensory as well as motor. Let us discuss about the autonomous nervous system. So this autonomous nervous system, it is formed of the nerves of the brain as well as the spinal cord. The autonomous nervous system, it is formed of the nerves of the brain and spinal cord. So the autonomous nervous system, it is again divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. These two nervous systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, they are antagonistic. They are antagonistic means they act opposite to each other. The sympathetic nervous system, say for example, if the sympathetic nervous system narrows the blood vessels, it narrows the lumen of the blood vessels, it reduces the secretions of the digestive glands, or it increases the heartbeat, it constricts, it stretches the pupil of the eye, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system, its functions are opposite to that of the sympathetic nervous system. So that means the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, they controls the functioning of the internal organs and also they control the emotions. Thank you.